Hi, welcome to One Tough Mama Podcast, Mary, Part 2. God steps in when we're not perfect, because we can only do so much. And I think we put pressure on ourselves as moms. Like, I have to be 100% happy, I have to 100% be available, and all these things, and my house has to be perfect.
Especially as a Christian.
Yes.
It's just reading about the women in the Bible and Proverbs 31, the women that you should be, and just I'm so far from that.
All of us are, though. So is it hurtful, like when you see, like you kind of talked about this, when you see other women, like today, somebody gets pregnant. Right now there's somebody in our church who's pregnant.
So I actually knew she was pregnant before I knew. I don't know if I want it so bad, I just can tell.
Yeah.
But I was looking at her and I was like, she looks different. Like her face, her tummy, I was like, I bet she's pregnant. And then her sister-in-law, I cleaned with her and she confirmed it. Well, that one was easy for me. Like I wasn't hurt because I didn't know that she had been trying, but she's very sweet and she's not like some women like in your face with their pregnancy or I don't know. And she's been a good friend to me. Like I was happy for her, and I think it helped knowing before it was announced.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't have to gather my emotions on the spot.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is very hurtful, like especially if they pop out kids like it's nothing, or if they don't take care of the kids they already have.
Yeah.
Or if they weren't even trying. It hurts a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I have to gather my emotions, ask God to help me rejoice with them, and then it's normally fine. Like a lot of these kids, some of them are even my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Some of them are in the nursery. So just getting to like when they're born and they're here, like I just adore them. I just love kids.
Yeah.
I know my sister's two youngest. I was very hurt when she told me she was pregnant, especially with the youngest, and I just adore him. Like he's bad, but he's just one of my favorites.
Oh, you like the bad kids.
I don't normally, but he's just a character.
That's funny. That's how my oldest is. So all those kids that would turn around in church and like like those type of kids, she was like, Mom, my kid is so funny. I love those kids. Yeah. And I was like, okay, those are the hard kids. Yeah. Not every child that turns around and sticks their tongue out are hard kids, but let me see. So you were seeing a doctor, right? Because they don't know why you're not being able to conceive, correct?
Yeah. He actually used the words, well, I know everything's working.
Right.
So he did give me some fertility medication, 2 different ones. And then I've also been seeing a doctor for weight management. And I've been doing really well.
Right.
I've been down a dress size. My pants are too big. My shirts are too big.
Nice. Good.
Even my rings. This is an old ring that I grew out of.
Yeah.
It's a very hard pill to swallow that I might be holding myself back.
Yeah.
But
at least if that is
the issue,
then at least you know that it's possible.
Yeah, and even the weight management doctor had said, I bet you 20 to nothing after you lose like 40 pounds, you'll be pregnant.
Okay.
She's super nice and super encouraging. Like I had an appointment right after we lost 2 people last week, and I was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, and I think they were just like days apart.
Yeah.
And I had kind of gotten off track with my eating habits, but I was still down. She was like, it's okay, life happens. You need to know that these people that loved you and you love them, they want you to be healthy. They want you to do good for yourself.
Right. It is true. I stress eat too.
Yeah.
That is one thing I've figured out going through a lot of the stuff that we've been through the last years. I'm like, okay, my son would sometimes say, man, you guys eating ice cream again? I said, it's either that or drink alcohol, and we're not drinking alcohol, so bring on the ice cream, or just And then our emotions, like not our emotions, our hormones. I can't even talk. Hormones. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm just starving. You know, and I'm like, I'm not starving, but I just want to munch like all day. So then I usually know like something's coming.
when I get my cycle the week before, I'm just like so hungry.
Yes.
And it's around the same time as when we lost those 2 people, and we actually just lost another one this week. So it's been.
So you've had 3 people?
So we've been to 3 funerals this month. Well, the next one, the 3rd one will be next Saturday.
Yeah. So were they family?
None of them were, but 2 of them we grew up with. One was like a second mom. We were always at her house. All the kids were friends. The parents were friends.
Yeah.
And it sucks because she had just beaten cancer, and then she passed away unexpectedly.
Not from cancer?
No, it was an infection that went septic.
You know what? That's been like in the news lately. The sepsis.
Yeah.
And you don't know, and they can't treat, like it's not an antibiotic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one, we grew up with him. My parents are friends with his boys, and we were all, it's kind of like how our church is now. That's how our church used to be. We'd always go camping together, hang out throughout the week. All the kids were friends. So he was like another grandpa, but it was not unexpected. He was already sick, and then he's also been saved longer than I've been alive. And I know he's saved because I see the fruit. Like his wife is saved, his kids are saved. I think most of his grandkids are saved as well.
That's good.
Yeah, so that one wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
But
that 3 in a row.
Yeah, the middle one, that one hurt so bad, and I didn't even know him as long as the other 2.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as close to him, but I don't know.
The one that we have in our church, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one just took everybody by surprise.
It did. Like, I really thought he was going to stay till the rapture.
I know. We've all been like, Pastor, what you sound so loud. Yeah. No, that one, and that was a nursery. So I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And then the nursery leader came back and was crying. And, sometimes when you get a word or whatever, you're crying. And so I was like, oh, you okay? And she's like, oh, you guys didn't hear? Because we didn't have a speaker on. The kids were literally yelling almost the whole nursery. So even if we had the speaker on.
It's very hard to hear.
Yeah. But I just remember coming out of nursery and it was dead quiet. Because everybody
could hear the whole church as soon as Lynn Ounce was like, and then sniffling and tears. And even the men were, like, he definitely had an impact in everybody's life.
Yeah. I guess the last words that I've heard of that he spoke to anybody, God is good. Like somebody was telling him, oh, I got this going on or whatever. And he was telling the brother, God is good. Like, whatever, God is good. And like, I'm like, that, I want my last words to be something very similar to like, God is good. And you know he's up there right now, and just, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Because he's got a whole body. It just, and I already see like a shift in our church in a good way. So that's good. But I'm sorry that you've had to go through so much this week, the last few weeks.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
That's why you have to do all your laundry. That's why life has been.
It's been crazy. Well, not only that, work and homeschooling, and then drama practice, and then work again after drama practice, and revival.
Are you in the melodrama?
Yeah.
Ooh, Mary, I'm surprised.
Me too. Pastor asked, and I didn't know how to say no. So but it's not hard. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. Like, I'm pretty comfortable with everybody that's in it.
That's good. Yeah. When you're on stage, because I've been on stage when I was a teenager, it's really hard to see anybody in the audience. Or it's very dim, so you can't see them all making weird faces or anything. That's good. I'm excited. I know some of my kids, I'm like, y'all are drama. You need to join this kid team. Because you guys are, we have one that, 2 of mine could totally, at home, they could totally be in it. So, let me see.
When my son was in the hospital, they did like a brace thing on his arm with the IV because it was hurting him. And then I sent a picture and I was like, is there any room on the drama team? He's so dramatic.
I have one that's had a lot of medical issues. And why are those ones that have all the medical? Well, our 16-year-old has had a lot of medical issues, but you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, he's so easy at the doctors. My other one who's had a lot of medical issues, yeah.
And I think our sons, those two are very much the same.
Yes, and so it's like, what? He needs what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and he's the one that I'm having to up my homeschool game for. And so, which is fine. I mean, we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel you on the drama. So, when he had a lot of oral surgery and had to have like inside his right, and so he had to have an IV, and he was 5. I don't know. He was little. He had bent the IV. That's how bad he was. Yeah, and then when he came to under, yeah. So that was hard, and it's hard because you can't do anything.
It has to be done.
Yeah, well, they're half drugged.
Yeah.
Either whether they're going under, going, out of it. Once he was like out of it, and we were in a regular room, and he could eat all the ice cream and Jello, whatever, and watch TV that he wanted, then he was okay as long as the pain medicine stayed. Yeah, but no, our boys have gone through a lot of the same things. So tell me, what is your favorite thing about being a mom?
I think just his little self in general.
Yeah.
Watching him grow, watching him serve God too. Being able to stay home with him, teach him and watch him grow, because I did miss a lot of the baby years working.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how many years did you work?
I think until he was 6.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of missed everything. And the job that I was working when he was born, I had to work weekends, holidays, because it's on Air Force Base, we don't close.
Right.
So I missed a lot of stuff, like his first Easter, like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then by the time I'd get home, he'd be ready for bed. So,
yeah. That's hard.
That's another reason why I just really, really want another baby, because where we are now, I can stay home, I can enjoy the baby stage.
Right. Yeah, that is hard. I only had to work for a period, and I didn't have to work. I worked just to kind of help pay some things off, and but my 2 at home were older, and at one point, our oldest actually ended up getting married. So, but it was hard because our other one, our oldest son, went through a really hard period while I was working. And so part of me blamed myself, like, well, if I could have stayed home, but he probably would have gone through that rough patch anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless if I worked or not. But it is a big difference. And being homeschooled, like, you're with your kids all the time.
Yeah.
And so I know some women have talked to me like, I can't be with my kids all the time. And I'm like, but it is you learn, it's a whole different thing. When I had my day to myself, and then, okay, now I got this time, and I have to go pick up the kids, and then it's like you have to change your mindset. Now I got to get in mom mode, where I was like by myself mode, right? And now I got to get in mom mode, and then it's like homework, and dinner, and if you have any extracurriculars, but if you're like homeschooled, it's just you get to set your slower pace.
Yeah.
And then you don't feel like you have to cram all your mom time in with the kids like all in the evening.
Yeah.
You can just space it out through the day, and when they have a need, they can come to you. I've loved it, and I'm not going back. That's good.
I think we're actually better because we'll go like in the middle of the day and go play a sport at the park, or sometimes they'll just want to take a nap with me.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I love it.
That's nice. Like I said, homeschool to me is one of my favorites. What is the hardest thing about being a mom?
Also watching them grow. With this week being super crazy and kind of emotional, I've been kind of frustrated, and I don't mean to, but sometimes it comes out with him, like when he's not listening, or he was kind of straight up defiant one day about cleaning his room. So I kind of lost my cool, and then I was just overwhelmed with guilt because I yelled at him, and I don't know.
I mean, we yell sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's good for them, in a sense, to see that we have emotions. Because if we were just constantly like this, or always happy or whatever, because they have emotions.
Yeah.
And they learn how to deal with their emotions by watching us, especially when they're home with us all the time. And yeah, I think we all have those days where we're just overwhelmed, or we've just been going through the ringer, whatever. And sometimes I've had, like, when the kids get up, I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling good, or sometimes it's just outside sources that cause the issues. And you're just like, okay, there's a lot going on. They generally know where the frustration is coming from.
Yeah.
Because it's been so often the same sources. And they know, but yeah, it's okay, you know? And I mean, you're not abusing him or nothing, but you know, so and God steps in when we're not perfect, because we can only do so much. And I think we put pressure on ourselves as moms, like, I have to be 100% happy, I have to 100% be available, and all these things, and my house has to be perfect.
Especially as a Christian.
Yes.
It's just reading about the women in the Bible, and then Proverbs 31, the women that you should be, and just, I'm so far from that.
All of us are, though, but that is the God we serve. You know, because you, mom, may be different than me, and your house might be different than mine, right? And so I'm like, man, I wish I could be like Mary in this area, and vice versa. Like, we all have our own strengths, but
I always tell people, I want to be like Christine when I grow up.
Thank you. Oh, just kidding. No, but God fills in the gaps. You know, where, like, I see my flaws. I mean, I have a ton of kids, so I still see, like, you think I'd get this by now, right? Like, you think having all these kids, like, I would have this part of the mom stuff worked out, and I don't. But I have grown kids, and so I've seen where, especially your first, you just don't know what you're doing. and then when you get kids, you know, that come from trauma, that's a whole different ballgame. But, you know, I see my oldest, and she's a mom, and I know some things that she does. She's like, her and her husband work really good together. So some of the things she's learned from her husband, right? And other things, you're just like, that's God. Because I specifically prayed, God, I have failed in this area. I don't want my kids to take this on. And I see her in her motherhood succeeding in those specific things. And I'm going to get emotional, sorry. Where, like, I failed majorly. You know, and she has had some of the same struggles that I have had. But some, I'm like, that is answer to prayer. So don't beat yourself up. And there's no way we're going to be perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need God.
Yeah.
And it's in those times when you're just like, I can't mom today, or, you know, there was a situation that was like, you know, we have some long-term ongoing situations, and something came down, and it was just really bad. And I just remember laying in bed and telling my husband, we have to wake up tomorrow morning and parent the rest of the kids in our house. We felt like total, complete failures. And there was so much against us, said about us, said to us, like, you know, and where we are as parents today, where I am as a mom today, is so different from that night when we went to bed. And it's God.
Yeah.
Because the peace that I feel in this house, that we all feel in this house, with 3 adopted kids, and we don't distinguish between adopted and our biological. I'm just saying this for the emphasis of the story. And then when we had the 2 biological home, there's more peace.
Mm-hmm.
After so much chaos and so much drama than before adoption was even in the picture. And it was just our biological. And it's God. And so when you have a bad day, just think of my story and be like, we've been through so much that it's just, if God can take all that we've been through and have today, our family today is so much more peaceful. People who come into our house now and before, they're like, this is a different house.
Mm-hmm.
And, so just let God fill in those gaps and know that God does fill in those gaps. And that's why we need God. Not only do we need God for our salvation, but we need God to fill in our mom gaps, And then too, like, if we were perfect, then we would be God to our kids, right? And we're not. There's no, don't even look to me. Like, I am a mom, right? Be an example, but I'm not God to my mom. And so there's going to be times that our kids have to turn to God. Not necessarily because of us, but because of us, right? And there's things that, like, I'm sure you've had to go to God from your childhood, and you're breaking curses now.
Yeah.
But we're not perfect. And so your son's going to have to just see that and see how you are through all of this. And see, like, I don't know. I just know God is good and he fills in the gaps. And so don't beat yourself up. It'll be good. Yeah, we have emotional times.
Yeah.
And being boys, I think it's important for boys. So, because I have boys and girls. So with the girls, and boys have emotions too. It's just different. It looks different. I tell all my kids, like, God gave us emotions. It's how we use them. And what do we do at that point when we're feeling emotional? And then I think it's important for our sons to see female emotions. Because what if when they get married, they marry a woman who has a wider range of emotions than their mom? They're going to be like, what is going on with you, And so I think it's important that we are vulnerable in front of our kids. And because if they see us handle everything perfectly, well, we don't need God because we have it all together, right? Which,
no, we don't.
And there's so much that they don't see that goes on behind closed doors. They don't see us up at 5 a.m. or in the middle of the day on our knees, or the pile of tissue that we've cried because of whatever, But they do need to see some, I think, and they can't process everything that we go through. But it's good. Just God will help you and your family sort all that out. Let me see. So, is there any mom hacks that you'd like to share with us?
Growing pains. My dad used to wrap my legs in warm towels, like wet them with hot water, and then wrap the legs in them, and it works so much better than Tylenol. Like, my son will choose that over Tylenol. And I think the same with the ear.
Oh, okay.
Because he's had a lot of ear infections throughout his life.
Yeah.
A hot towel over the ear.
Okay. I know that you mentioned the legs, growing pains. And luckily our kids don't have a lot of that. And it is, I 100% think it's family. Because we have 4 sets of DNA in our house. And some of my kids, and we do have siblings. And so some of my kiddos get it, some of them not.
I got them so bad growing up, and then my son has them so bad too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that my dad did that with me and that I remembered it, because it's the first thing besides prayer that I turned to.
Right. Yeah, because I know I had them really bad. Like, I can't even, unless you've had them, how do you, other than if you feel your bone just like, your bone is literally, you feel it growing. But I remember staying up a lot with my mom at night. And so with my biological.
It seems to only happen at night.
Isn't it true?
Yeah.
Yes. I think actually one of our kids might have had them in the day, but I think they're just too active. Well, a lot of my kids are very active, so I think they're just too active to maybe, well, they would notice. But I don't know. But it's true. And but some of mine don't. But I pray too. And so far, my daughter's kids, I haven't heard anything that they haven't had any. So, because I've told her, I said, it's a family thing. So I'll just pray against it. Yeah. But I will, like the ears too. But my kids haven't had a lot of earaches or anything.
Yeah, he's only had one since he had the surgery.
Okay.
Just such a relief.
Yeah, I'm glad it all worked.
I know. It was like every other month he was sick and at the doctor.
Yeah.
And sometimes hospitalized.
Yeah. I know you guys have been through a lot with that.
Yeah.
That's another topic we should talk about.
Yeah.
Another podcast. Because we could talk about all the things that our boys have been through. Very similar. Because it does add a whole different dimension to motherhood.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because I was pregnant right before he got hospitalized the first time, and my husband was gone at basic training. So I had just lost the baby, and then he was hospitalized. So imagine I'm alone, pregnant, and stuck at the hospital with my son, and we don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe God.
No. The timing, we don't, like some of the timing, we just have to trust God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the certain things in my life, I've done that too. Maybe God did it this way, or maybe it's because of this, and maybe, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wasting, I'm getting myself confused, or, you know, and whatever God, I don't know, well, maybe we'll find all this stuff out when we, why did it happen this way?
Mm-hmm.
And He can explain it to us. But a lot of stuff God, I don't know, but I do know that you have worked this. The good thing with having so many bad things happen is you have so many more opportunities to see God's hand in your life and to see how God does work things out. And sometimes we're like, hey, with these things, I'm like, okay, I know I've been here before. How did God move before? And so, just, we don't know why God's timing it, and it may not have anything to do with anything. That's Christine doctrine. I don't know, but I just find myself, if I start thinking about the whys and the this and this, it gets me more depressed. And it gets me, okay, well then, if this happened because of this, and then if this thing happens again, then you're like, okay, well, it just adds for more negativity and more fear in my life. So God, you are in control. This situation is in your hand. And I heard a sermon by one of the pastors in Tucson, and he literally was saying, he was talking about mental health, and they had like a little series on mental health and all these. He literally was saying, like, stretch out your hand. So he had like the whole congregation stretch out your hand. Stretch out your hand. Jesus is right there. And we just went through something a month or two ago, and literally this was my prayer. This was my stance in my prayer. I'm in the shower crying, and I'm like this. I'm all over wherever I pray. I'm just like, God, Jesus right here. And I'm like, you see the situation, and here it is, just like, here it is, right? And for me, it made it, we always say, just put it at the foot of the cross, just lay it at the foot of the cross. Sometimes the foot of the cross seems so far away, and it just seems like, well, that's way back in whatever, right? Right here, we all have this right here. And so whether it's like we went off on our kid that day, Jesus is right here. If it's, and just stretch out your hand. If you're just listening, just stretch out your hand, and the end of your hand, that is where Jesus is. So whatever the situation is, whether it's infertility, loss, unsaved husband, whatever, just a bad day, or we're just needing God, He's right there. And that has helped me through so much. And it was almost like I would start chuckling, like, okay, here I am, God, like a kid, just like such a familiarity. Like, it really made God, Jesus, personal. And I'm like, how did I live for God for this long and just not
like, even think of that.
That didn't dawn on me.
That's a good perspective.
So right here, like that just brings Jesus right into your situation. Because if you're right here, you are not missing anything that's going on in my life right now, right? And so that right here, I literally that's my reference point now. Right here. Jesus is right here. And so I don't know why I sidetracked on that. But okay, so to end it, what is one thing that you learned from your mother?
To be there when it counts, like no matter the state of your relationship with whoever may need you.
Right.
Last time I talked to you, I struggled with my relationship with my mom.
Right.
Been mad at her for so many years for something that she didn't even do to offend me.
Right.
But offended someone that I loved. And she's still doing it, so it's very hard to get around it. And I was very cold to her, and I didn't appreciate her. Sometimes kind of just outright mean to her. But since then, since I've had to pray against the bitterness in my heart towards her after answering that question, it's been a lot better.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a lot nicer to her. I'm able to talk to her now. And I had actually told her, like I had outright apologized and told her why I was the way that I was towards her. And she got a little teary-eyed, and I got a little teary-eyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been through a lot, like with my dad's family. They've not been good to her, but she's always there. Like my grandma had actually gotten physical with her before she died, and my mom left the situation. But on my grandma's deathbed, she was back, holding her hand when she went into heaven.
Wow.
Yeah, and then.
Where did your mom get that strength to just give herself like that?
I don't know, because her mom is not like that at all.
So it's not something that she was shown?
No.
Is your mom Christian?
No. I think her and my dad at one time were, when we were around the people that the grandpa we had just lost him.
Right.
Because I remember it was a very different life whenever they were in our life. The one brother moved to Artesia, and then the others kind of moved to a different church. And I think at that time our church had kind of split.
Right.
And then everything with my mom's surgery, they just...
Yeah.
And then we also grew up in a church, once saved, always saved.
Yeah.
So they still think they're saved.
Yeah.
But...
I wonder if your mom, since she wasn't raised like that, sometimes we're raised a certain way, and it's a negative way. And so we're going to do the opposite. And sometimes that's our way of just changing the childhood that we had for other people. Or she could just be a generally nice, giving person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I know for my mom, it was sacrifice.
Yeah, I think some of it might be marrying into my dad's family.
Is your dad like that?
He's very generous. And at least to us, sometimes, and for other people. I mean, when they separated, my dad initiated it. It was totally biblical. But even some of his own family were rude to him in saying that he destroyed our family, which is funny because all of his brothers and sisters are divorced before he ever separated my mom. And then even my sister was mean to him. And he had every right. It's biblical why he did what he did.
Yeah.
And now, he would have never known that was their relationship 10 years ago, because he's just there for all of us. And I know when I have a bad day, I was getting frustrated about my spatula. I had a favorite spatula, and it broke.
Yeah.
So I was using a different one, and I dropped the egg on the stove. And that's already a big mess and frustrating. And I was just mad about that, and I had an attitude towards him, even though he had nothing to do with it. And he's just still... And both of my parents are like that, but I feel like my mom a little bit more.
That is very chill, huh?
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. I know for me, I'm glad that this question helped, your relationship? I decided as a question.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like, I'm just glad that God moved through just a general question.
And I'm like, what if that was holding me back, being bitter towards my mom for however many years? Since I was in 3rd grade, I've been mad at her. And now I just let it go.
Yeah, that's good. And again, if you sound like me, where I can overthink things.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, maybe it's because of this. And I remember because we hadn't gotten matched with a kid with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, oh, it's because I'd have a bad day.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have as much patience with my kids as I should have or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe God's like, well, you're not a patient mom, so you can have this special needs kid,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no. And even Pastor preached a sermon on, it wasn't like the whole sermon wasn't on that,
Mm-hmm.
but he mentioned in it, like, almost specifically word for word what I was thinking in my head. And I was like, okay, no. Again, God is so much bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
So much bigger. And so much, like, we just want to figure it out so we can solve the problem.
Even though his word says not to lean on our own understanding.
Exactly.
It's so hard. There was a Sunday school that was like that, and I had brought it up to Pastor, like, the devil beats me over the head, like, we didn't do homeschool, or I'm behind on laundry, so I'm not a good mom, so that's why God didn't give me a baby, or like, I got mad at Mason and I yelled at him, you're not a good mom, so that's why God didn't give you a baby. But then there's other areas where he talks to me where I'm not a good Christian, so that's why God won't give me a baby. Like, I miss morning prayer, I haven't been in like a year, but the first miscarriage was when I had started missing it.
Right.
And the devil right away was like, let's go to a bad Christian. Mm-hmm. And then the second miscarriage, I had just started going back to morning prayer, and it was just like flip-flopped around. Like, oh, you're serving God and he still took your kid.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle, like, just in my own mind.
I think as humans, we're so conditional.
Mm-hmm. Our God is not.
Right. I mean, there are, like, boundaries. Mm-hmm. And some of it is conditional with God. Because, in Sunday school, we're talking about, and the ifs. If God wasn't conditional, there wouldn't be ifs in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
But I think in our minds,
not the way we make it.
The devil twists it, right? Mm-hmm. And the devil doesn't play fair at all. Mm-hmm. And he knows how important being a mom is to you. And that's where his number one attack is going to be. Mm-hmm. And same for me, And I don't know, just keep talking to Pastor. Because he'll, like, for me, sometimes I'll be having these mind battles and I'll just go to him. And just going to him sometimes, I'm like, okay, I don't even really need to finish this conversation because my head's already clear, But, no, the devil's a liar. And it's not because you're going to prayer or you're not going to prayer. Or because you're momming this way or you're not momming this way. And some days, it's good not to do homeschool. Some days, we don't do homeschool.
We did not today.
And that's okay. Mm-hmm. In public school, they have in-service days.
Yeah.
In public school, some days they just show movies. So, and they, I just say, we're having an in-service day, mm-hmm. right? And kids learn so much from play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever, y'all just go. And I don't know about you, but if I'm having one of those days where we're just not going to have school, but I push it through, mm-hmm. school is so much more frustrating, and they feel it, and they feel our tension, mm-hmm. and our not wanting to be here, our not wanting to teach, and then that doesn't help them to learn. And so some days, and that's one thing I've learned to just give myself grace and not to live up to this certain standard that I have put myself up to, and just, it's okay. And I like to have everything done. I like tidiness.
Me too. That's why this last 2 weeks has been such a struggle, because I just feel like I can't keep up with my house. Mm-hmm. I don't think we did school maybe once this week.
It's okay.
It's just been so busy and crazy.
But he's learning things that you can't, like, label. Some things you probably could label. Mm-hmm. But if you like study unschooling or whatever, but there's things that are happening in him that don't fit in a curriculum type format, right? So it's okay. It really is okay. And you only have to have school 180 days.
Yeah.
So if you really are wanting to like make up those days, just homeschool them. If you homeschool year round, then you can make those up easy.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, some days, like for me, when I am just feeling so overwhelmed, because that's where I have felt myself a lot of times is overwhelmed. That's one of my biggest struggles, because then I take it on my family. Because then I'm like, I have my big to-do list.
Yeah.
I am struggling. I am doing this, right? But nobody's helping me, right? And I feel like this, and then everyone's like, gosh, Mom, right? And then, but God really dealt with me, and still working on me. I'm not even there yet, but the dishes will always be there. Laundry is always going to be there, and you will get it done. You're going to get it done before y'all walk out of the house naked. Right?
Mason actually ran out of underwear last night because he changes them like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Every time he goes to the restroom.
Have him start doing his own
I was
laundry.
like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm just so behind on laundry. And my dad, I felt like he felt where I was coming from. Like, I was feeling guilty. I was feeling like I'm not a good enough homemaker. He was like, well, I've been here all day, every day, because he's home from work for a while because his company shut down. But he was like, I could have just as easily started the washer for you. And I was like, dang.
Yeah. And he's old enough, your son's old enough, that you can start teaching him.
And I keep threatening him because of the amount of times he changes, or when he gets his clothes, he'll throw them out while he's looking. I'm like, you're going to start doing your own laundry.
Do it. Like, I'm not saying like as a threat.
Yeah.
But so some of my kids are weird about their clothes too. And so it was a joke, but it was a real joke. We had one kid, oh, now you're in your Walmart outfit, and you're in your, like, if you're just sitting in your house, you're okay, but then I'm going to change for dinner, and then I'm going to change because I'm going to Walmart or whatever errand you're doing, and literally like 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no. And then we had another child who had some issues, like, and so I would reach into the laundry and I'm like, you are doing your own laundry. Like, legit, I'm tired of, like, right? And so they learned at a young age, you're doing your own laundry. And then I have specific laundry days, and they know by now, like, what days are my laundry days. So they just bring down if they bring down their hamper, I'm going to do it. I mean, even my 16-year-old knows how to do it. He won't do it on his own. I'll stand there, okay, put your clothes in, and then, okay, I'll do the detergent. It's liquid, and so it would just, he can't see very well, and it would just get all over. So I put in the detergent, and then I even show him, like, what button, so he can do it, but, monitored. And then our youngest, she likes to be domestic, so she's just like, oh, but one of mine didn't bring the laundry down for like a week and a half, and it's to the point where it's like, I don't have to tell you every time, like, and I'm like, you have all the rest of the days if you want to do your laundry, and I have taught him how to do laundry, so he knows. And so he didn't do it, so I told my husband, I said, he's either gonna start wearing dirty clothes or something. So I had to bring in my husband. Like, then he got on him. I'm like, okay, you can go do your laundry right now. But all my kids know how to do it. Different levels, of course, age-wise, cognitive-wise. But your son's at the age, and then if he's gonna like go through clothes that fast, okay, then let's do. You obviously do it with him first, and so. It will free you up and it will free him up. And then if he wants to change all the time, then he knows, okay, now I need more underwear. Yeah. Time to wash my clothes, Because then if they go through all this stuff and they need clothes and then they forget to tell you, right? Because it's like, well, if you don't tell me we're out of toothpaste, I'm not going to know.
And I don't go into his room and check his, so I had no idea he didn't have any underwear.
Right. And so all right, let's learn, like, hey, don't make it like a punishment or just like, hey, if you want to change your chonies five times a day, go ahead. But here's what we're going to do, and we're going to teach you how to do laundry. That way you are in charge. Like, you have the power over your clothes, and you don't have to go, you can be Captain Underpants. Just wear underwear all the time. So, yeah, that's been very, very helpful, especially the ones that have certain clothes issues type thing. My dog is like hitting the bottom of my chair. What are you doing? So, anyway, but it's been good. Thank you. We talked about a few different things this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you again, especially in your busy schedule. I really appreciate. My dog keeps hitting the bottom of my chair. I really appreciate you coming and taking the time out. And so I appreciate it.